Today we're talking Call of Duty on Game Pass, a crazy new Microsoft purchase rumor, and an in-depth Hellblade 2 review, plus more top headlines of the week. And if that isn't enough, we're revealing our top picks for the best summer Game Pass games. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, the weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by our Good Playing Good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
We've got a great show planned, but before we dive in, let's check in with my pack of Matts and find out what everyone's been playing this week. Lord?
Oh, we got some Crow Country. I went ahead and beat the demo. Now, let me set the premise for you. It's a throwback homage to 90s horror games, complete with tank controls, pixelated graphics. It looks like Final Fantasy VII. It has controls similar to OG Resident Evil 4, where you would hit a button, you would stance, and you would kind of aim with your analog stick. You could have like a little laser pointer on your gun. And I gotta say, the demo was awesome. And I am considering...
Yeah, you wouldn't stop crowing about it. So.
I was crowing. Did you not pick it up, Dan? I said, hey, Dan, you gotta pick up this game.
I checked it out on Steam. It looked very fun. The graphics were a little retro for me, but it is. I'm hearing people talk about it. So is it good? How is it?
It was a lot of fun. I thought it was really cool. It was about an hour demo. I was able to shoot some enemies, kind of see what the kind of the loop is like. Lots of puzzles. The puzzles like feel very like Silent Hill, like you're getting keys, you're finding ways to unlocking stuff. There's like kind of old school save rooms where there's like a fire going on, and what's cool too is you do pick up this is like a gripe that I'm seeing a lot about it, but you pick up a lot of pieces of content around the little theme park that you're exploring, and it will all be in your save room. You can go into the notebook and kind of skim in case you were forgetting anything, like you might have to say a password to somebody or but hey, I gotta say, definitely if you were curious about it, check out the demo. Free on Steam. I think right now it's only like $17, so I think I'm gonna probably pick it up and keep playing it because I had a really good time. And and of course, I've been playing some Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Yep,
and we got
you took one for the team, so thank you so much for volunteering on the last pod.
Of course. And so we got that downloaded, and we have a little review coming up soon.
Can't wait. Maulding?
I started playing Starfield, the update that they had. Little surprise guest here. The update.
How was the update?
I don't think my eyes can see the difference between the different resolutions. I don't think I can tell. They added some customizations with your ship, which are, I guess, kind of interesting, but I had forgotten just some of the glaring things that they just really didn't get right in that game. And I'm really noticing this time around when you're talking to someone and them just being static in front of you with their face to you talking. It's really boring. Like I'm just skipping through the conversations because I just don't want to have this NPC talking at me the entire time. It's tough. But I'm trying to do a playthrough where I do a new game plus for each one of the factions. And I just reset each time. And I'm on like my fourth reset, and that's kind of fun. Like, I do think the gameplay is fun. I think the gun play and the powers, and I think that's fun. It's just there's something glaring that's missing to make the game good. Like it's not good.
For me, it's the load screens. It's loading screen the game. Like, oof, I can't even.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when you're like, I want to go to that planet, and I expect the load screen to put me on that planet, but no, the load screen puts me on my ship on the planet, and then I have to get out of the ship, which is a second load screen, and that's where I'm really like, okay, I'm good with one. Give me one load screen to get me on
the
a planet.
double
Like,
whammy.
Oof, it's really like but the big game this week that I've been playing is Diablo 4, which their new update came out and their new season, and it's so much better. It is really.
I agree, and I've been having a blast playing it with you. You can't complain that we haven't played together.
No, this time we did. This time we did.
Yeah. I know you were awesome because
thank you.
Because Lord, I wanted. He was complaining about having to create an eternal character, so I was like, okay, F it. I created a hardcore character, but then of course I'm paranoid that I'm gonna die, so I'm playing with him and I'm like hiding behind his bear, like he's this bear character, and I'm like this little bitch, like hiding, like throwing stuff, but I don't want to die because it's my first hardcore. I haven't played the game the first time, let alone on a hardcore character. But it was a blast, so thank you for that.
I'm impressed, Maulding. You got him to cross over.
Well,
get a little.
Didn't get him to cross over. Xbox achievements got him to cross over. That is why he's doing it.
That explains everything. Actually,
there's an achievement for getting hardcore level 50. So yeah, there's incentive there.
But I did notice after you left and we were playing hardcore that you weren't even playing hardcore on the hardest difficulty that you could play it. You were playing it on the easy version of hardcore. So my character was on the easy world the whole time. And I'm like, I can't even get him to play hardcore correctly.
I didn't know, and in fact that's why when you and I were playing I'm like, Maulding, where are the difficulty spikes in this game? Did I not ask you, or what causes you to die the most? And you said it was your hubris.
Hubris is what definitely kills me all the time.
Because I'm walking around slaughtering dudes like, hardcore's no problem, I got this.
That's not how I play.
Hardcore easy, never heard of that. That's kind of cool.
He's
I like that,
the
actually.
easy version of hardcore is what he's doing.
I didn't know. Shamed.
I kind of like publicly. How there is like that option though, because I think hardcore could be fun if you know the difficulty is a little lower. I think that actually makes sense to me.
That's what he was doing. He was playing the low difficulty hardcore version. Yes.
I didn't know.
But I mean, in his defense though, I went through I think 6 or 7 hardcore characters that I had die before I landed on my current build, which is a druid build that I'm at I think I just hit level 80 today. So almost at level 100 with this guy. And I've been really enjoying it. Long story short, really enjoying it. Great update, having a lot of fun. They made so many good changes that I've been really enjoying. So
I agree, but the only criticism I'm seeing online is they're saying there's not enough gold. They used to say there was too much. Now they're saying there's not enough gold. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the switch is there's the same amount of gold. To do things is way more expensive. So if you want to do these changes to your gear, it costs a lot of money. So friend of the pod, Brendan, is like poor all the time because he's constantly doing updates to his gear. Whereas I'm not doing updates to my gear a lot. So I have a lot of money. I have like 6 million.
Are you just holding out to like find gear then? Is that just what you
I hold on
do?
to like find a good piece and then adjust it to how I want it. Whereas I think Brendan plays like he finds a piece of gear and any gear he adjusts it to how he wants it. I think that's how he plays. Gotcha. So that's an expensive way to do it. And I do it the cheap way. I do the cheap, hardcore is what I do. But what about other than Diablo? What have you been playing, Dan?
So honestly, it's been all Diablo 4, then the usual suspects of like Fortnite and Fall Guys and Outlast Trials. And then I also felt bad for Lord and I jumped into a Senua Saga Hellblade 2. And so I know that Lord was selected to a review. So Lord, I want to actually, before we even get to headlines, I can't wait. I want to talk about this so much because I have so many thoughts and so many feelings because you guys forced me to play it as well with all of this conversation and Maulding's continual friend of the pod, Brendan loved the first one. So I'm like, all right, well,
I said it once.
Oh, twice. But anyway, I knew I was going to come in insulting this game, and so I wanted to at least have played it. So I actually finished it. I put in a little over 8 hours. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on it, but Lord, this is your boat to drive, and I just want to, make snide comments on the side.
Excellent. Well, then I can take over. And then I would like to just preface by saying I have not beaten this thing. I've played an hour, but let me just say this. I think in this hour, I have seen everything this game has to offer. So I think this review actually is totally fair. So
I'll tell you if you're off base for sure.
Okay, absolutely. So it's a $50 digital only game. I got it on Game Pass because, to be honest, I just initial reaction $50 for this game. It's a no-go. Definitely go the Game Pass route if you can. I will say, so as far as the graphics go, the graphics are stunning, even on the Series S. Now, this goes for the character models only because the beginning portions that include the water. Dude, the water looks like PS2, like PS1 graphics. I could not believe how bad at least on the series.
Maybe that's an S issue because on the X, the water looked phenomenal.
Oh, it did? Okay.
And my graphics, I'm the same boat though. My graphics complaints were that like characters, phenomenal.
Yes.
Like the world, it's not open world, so it better look really good. Okay. It looked phenomenal. But then you go into fights and everything turns black. So I'm like, well, I can't see crap. So you guys are cheating. Like this is half-assed. Like, so the graphics are really great, and then they're missing.
That is okay. I knew immediately as soon as I did the first fight. I'm like, okay, this is how the game is going to play out through forever. You did.
Are they quick time events? What are the fights? Yeah,
no, I mean it is like a quick time almost. It's like. It's almost quick time because it's not a ton going on and it's really simple button presses. I thought the parry and the dodge.
It's I wouldn't. Okay, so it is Spider-Man fighting, but really dumbed down, and by that I mean like the red is like the green is the dodge, and the right bumper is the parry, and then you've got your light and you've got your heavy. It's not hard at all by any means. And it's really well choreographed, so it's beautiful. You are influencing it, but they clearly want certain things to happen. Like some people get stabbed in the back, some people get stabbed in the face, like some people get stabbed by someone off screen and then fall over. And so it's very choreographed, very beautiful. You aren't always influencing everything that's happening, and it is very rudimentary and basic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
I think
weird.
You can just plow your way. You don't even have to worry. At least the first hour I did, I just was like, I didn't even really know like what I was doing quite yet. So I was just kind of mashing and I was getting through without any issues. So I don't even think it's necessary. Exactly.
Well,
like
that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, this is just a walking simulator.
Yes. 100% a walking simulator.
At the end of the day,
yes.
This is a glorified walking simulator.
Right.
Are you effing kidding me? Like they want this to be a prestige title, and so once I realized that, I was like, okay.
And my thoughts on that, it's just like, I just felt like I had a couple things. Like, I hadn't played the first one. And this is, so.
Well, I mean, I played the first like hour or two. I didn't like it,
when the
really...
recap of the first game was told on a stone, I literally didn't know what was going on. Like, I heard people say they did such a good recap. And I'm like, dude. It did not recap well at all. I didn't know what was going on.
You accidentally skipped it because it does go into a long recap about how she fell in love with this dude and
but it was told on a stone. I didn't know what was going on. It was like, I mean, it did, but
is it voiceover or do you read it?
It was voiceover, and it was just like, I don't know who the lover was. I think she sees him at the beginning. I'm like, I don't know if that was him or not because what I was looking at was a stone. And then I just said, I feel like you're definitely better off. This is a game that is 100%. You could sit down and watch a YouTube play of it, and you'll
100%.
Yes,
100%.
like you'll get the same exact experience. You do not need to interact with this game.
Well, that's why I was like, it is good for if you have got a partner, a boyfriend, or a girlfriend, or a spouse. Like if I had a boyfriend sitting next to me,
what about a grinder date?
Yes, exactly.
Grinder date could work.
That's exactly what I say. They need to be the P2. They need to be looking up for all of the hidden shit because there's a lot of hidden stuff in the world, and then they could be entertained. So it's a perfect like couch co-op with one person who doesn't want to play and just wants to watch. So like the Quarry or the Until Dawn, like one of those movie games. It kind of felt like one of those.
Yeah, it could for sure. My take on like the whispering in the ears, it's like if I want to listen to like some demons, I would just like listen to my own thoughts. Like I don't need to have these things whisper. And that's the funny part. I think that's like it's just like there was nothing groundbreaking with the whispering, in my opinion. Like
what was funny is
not,
like I thought the same thing, and I heard all these voices, and I'm like, wait a minute, she's supposed to be crazy because I hear these kind of voices all the time.
Yeah.
The only thing that's different was these voices were calling her out in third person. They were talking about her in third person. I was like, wait a minute, my voices are in first person.
Yeah.
It's all about like, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, I got this. Oh, so. You know what I mean? And her voices were really harsh, where my voices are a little bit more conceited.
Yeah, I just didn't think. I mean, I didn't think that was. I mean, is that what it is in the first game too? Because I just didn't think that didn't do much for me. I was just like, okay.
I thought what was interesting was, she's insecure about the voices she's hearing because she obviously has mental problems. In the first game, I got the impression that was like, a big embarrassment for her, and it was something you were supposed to experience, and the torture that she goes through and how she overcomes it. But in the second game, this one, it almost becomes her superpower. The voices start to make her special, and people recognize that she's hearing these voices, and they think that she is almost like a Joan of Arc character. So look, I don't really care, but I guess that could be considered cool if you wanted to get all artsy fartsy, but it was interesting that the voices perception changed.
I mean, I still have a long way to go. I only did an hour, so if I were to rate this thing,
wait, hold on, I want to go through my notes, and then we kind of come back and rate.
No, do your notes.
Rate at the same time. Okay, so here are my thoughts. One, they cheated again because it was beautiful, but like it went black during the fighting. It was an open world,
like the last season of Game of Thrones. Is that what it felt like? Like they cut everything, all the black.
Dan, that note reminded me. I did want to mention. I just think also with a lot of like the twirly imagery, Control already did that. Like I'm just saying. Like that was a lot of those things.
Fine, so it was whatever.
Very Control. So
the one thing that they did right was the camera movement. So like when she's laying upside down, the camera's upside down, and she rolls over, like the camera does it. And then every time time passes, it goes up into the clouds and it comes down. And the camera direction was cool. You're right. The special effects were a little lacking in some parts. But what I was going to call out as cheating again was because, yes, I think this game was hitting 60 frames, but it's also letterboxed. The whole time I'm on a TV that's 16:9, and you're making me play a game that's letterboxed, and I get you want this to be cinematic, but you know what? You need to get that I want to see the whole goddamn screen. So that was annoying.
Agreed.
A voice in the background, the narrator, sounds like Candyman. You cannot convince me it was not the same guy who played Candyman with his rawr, rawr voice and rawr. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So that's Candyman. And then she hooks up with young, handsome Channing Tatum from that's what I was calling all these characters and stuff. And like, so I had kind of names for all of them because she does kind of like make a ragtag party. And I did enjoy the story until it gets to the end. I think the whole time, because it's a walking simulator, and this is one of the true symptoms of every true walking simulator, is you get the claw going on, man. Your thumb is pressed up the whole time, and your index finger is so smashed on that bumper that literally, because I played for like 8 hours yesterday, like was almost having spasms. I need to lift with my finger and work that sucker out or something. I don't know what's going on, but literally, like I was sleeping with the claw. I could feel the claw, and that is one thing I will not miss. Man, you got to figure out something different with your game. If your character is so slow that the player is like mashing the shit out of their controller, that's one thing I'll definitely never forgive them for. The actress, her acting is really good, but it's one note. She's like rawr, rawr all the time, and it's like, whew, okay, I get the story, and the story was actually relatively interesting. The Titans, and I love how she defeated some of them, and a really interesting story. But the actress, like if she smiled or if she cracked a joke, I would have a heart attack because she was so serious all the time. There are a couple of really, really great sequences in there, even though it's a walking simulator. There was a sequence where she is in a cave and it's kind of caved in and she's trying to squeeze her way out. And it seriously lasts for maybe like, I don't know, it felt like 5 minutes. It was so claustrophobic. I know everyone talks about The Descent and claustrophobia, the movie, but this scene with claustrophobia was awesome. It made me feel so uncomfortable. It was great. And then there was another great sequence. They do it twice, once with lava and once with water, where it's a mechanic in the game where you're trying to avoid it and run while everything's exploding. Really well done. So there was some great stuff there. I thought overall the story was really good. The payoff was just kind of whatever. But for me, this is not my type of game. I only played it because I knew we had to talk about it as well. And I had bagged on the first one without finishing it. So I felt bad. So I sat down and I put 8.5 hours into this one just so I could come here and say this game was not good.
Well, if you could, all right, why don't you take the lead? Go ahead and give it the rating and I'll see where I'm at.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, there are good elements of this game. There, definitely the graphics, the story, the fact that it's short was definitely good. I'm not sure. I don't want to bag on this, but I'm curious where they go from here because I don't want any more. I don't want Microsoft to make these prestige games because for me, they're not prestigious. They are boring. I want games that are fun to play. And I know, Maulding, you insult my gameplay choices on occasion, and rightfully so.
All the time.
But I love games that I find fun, and this was not fun. So with all the technical beauty it did have with Unreal Engine 5 and everything like that, it was really nice to see. It just wasn't enough to make it really meaningful for me. I think this game will be forgotten within a month, and I have to give it a 5 out of 10.
Oh, that's so fun. That's exactly what I was going to give a 5 because I think at this point it's just a glorified tech demo. And it's just, there's nothing to it. It's a movie. You can go onto YouTube, watch the walkthrough, 100. Get the exact same experience. I'm not sure if I'll put more time into it either. It's just, I can tell it might be a little one note, but I am curious about that claustrophobia scene because that sounds kind of cool. They try to do that a little bit at the beginning with the boat in the water and it kind of fills up. That was kind of cool, but I agree. I think 5 is probably where it's going to land. And it's just, it breaks my heart because I know there was a lot riding on this for Xbox and
the studio is clearly talented. I mean, they're doing things in here that with the graphics I've never seen before, but it's and they're clearly passionate about it. I wanted it to be a success too, and unfortunately, definitely it didn't.
This is what I've got to bring up is it was $50. If you don't have Game Pass, this game is a $50 game.
$50 game.
For what sounds like between 5 and 8 hours at so that's you're paying basically $10 an hour, maybe a little bit less to play this game. That sounds nuts to me. That it should, if from the sound of it, it should be $25. There should be maybe a $25 game, which of course they could never do because they put so much money into what it looks like. But as far as gameplay goes, how can you justify paying that much money for a 5 hour? Is there any replay element to it? Do you go back through it as with more harder difficulty? Is there a hardcore version? A permadeath? Is there any new game plus?
No, there are two things in the world that you need to collect. One is this hidden tree behind these rock faces, which is an optical illusion. It's actually kind of interesting to find. And that's what probably took me so long because I'm literally doing 360s as I was going through this world really slowly. And then the other thing is these pillars. You just have to find pillars. And so when you go back into chapter select, you see these collectibles you might have missed, and it tells you how many. And then you also unlocked a new set of voices. Instead of the narrator, you get a voice called the others, and I think that's supposed to be your companions narrating the story. So I restarted a chapter because there was an achievement for it, and I selected the others. So and so I got the achievement, but I didn't hear anything and just quit it.
Yeah, I think it's put it down, even though it is cool. I always love to give a shout out to my Series S because I do love it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
But
agree,
that's-
put it down, but by
Yeah.
that I mean take it behind the barn and
Yeah, it's getting blasted.
Well, it sounds like
Yikes.
that there's a difference between like the Ubisoft bloat, the game that's $70, but you're just running around collecting like 7 different types of things. Like that's one extreme. But it does sound like that this is another extreme on the other side, where if you could just watch a YouTube video of it, you get the same reaction to it, rather than like, is playing it more fun than if you were to just watch it as a movie?
Right, that's a great question, and
Yeah.
that is what I'm saying. I think you could, me personally, playing the first hour, I'm like, I could have watched that and
But there
totally
are
enjoyed
places
it.
for these games. Like I do really enjoy The Quarry, and I really enjoyed Until Dawn, and those are kind of like walking simulators. But you do get to make decisions. This one you had no
Right.
decision making or whatever. So there's a place for these games, but not at this level of prestige and done in this way. It wasn't good enough.
I agree. I think there's so, and that was sort of the thing. Like the hype is so high. Like if this was just like a random game, they're like, yeah, we're gonna drop it, no sweat. And no, it didn't stack up.
Well, I knew the first one wasn't good, so I was blown away that they made a second one, and they really didn't
Yeah.
change much on it. Like the puzzles, forgot to mention, are physically painful, and I'm a puzzle guy. I play games that are just the puzzles. I love The Witness. The puzzles are awful. They are, instead of a fun brain teaser, they are a barrier and a slog to do and get around. And I don't even talk to me about this game anymore. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All
What a
right, so
bummer.
let's move.
Yeah.
Definitely a missed opportunity and definitely a bummer.
I did see that on its release day, it was either on its release day or the day after, Steam players, it was less than that vampire game. That awful vampire game. Like it had fewer players than that game.
I was thinking about that last night. I was like, I'm going to tell Maulding I enjoyed Redfall more than this game.
Redfall.
And Maulding's going to
Yeah.
say, because you enjoy shitty games. But that's true.
Hey, that doesn't sound like me. That sounds
I
like
am hearing voices in my head, but unfortunately they're yours, and I'm fighting with them already. So
that makes sense.
You've driven me crazy. But it's true. I had more fun when Redfall than this game's beautiful, but I had more fun in Redfall. It's an actual
Yeah.
video game. This one wasn't.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We got to get to the headlines of the week. All right, so first off, before we get to the hard news, I want to get to the fun news. And this is total rumor, speculation, bullshit. But since this podcast is just, amongst friends, we figured we should talk about it. And it is Microsoft to buy Steam for $16 billion, ? Now, I tracked this down. There's actually an article. It came from a tweet, but it was an article. Lord, I don't know if you actually were the one who put this in there, but I put an MSN article in the doc. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, and if you want to just kind of tell the story.
Absolutely. So kind of this, there was some back and forth saying, hey, like Microsoft's about to drop 16 billion to purchase Valve. Everyone's saying like, Gaben, don't do it. Oh my gosh. And so
this started on Twitter, right?
This started on Twitter, and it picked up steam. I saw it multiple times, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this a serious situation? So
I know I didn't want to even talk about it until I saw it, but MSN reported on it, and so if they reported on it.
Yeah. So let's just kind of like read like a paragraph of this and see how we all feel. In light of shocking news that could potentially change the gaming world, Microsoft is reportedly preparing an insane $16 billion offer to purchase Valve, the developer behind the platform Steam and popular games like CS2 and Dota 2. If this potential deal goes through, it would mark one of the most significant deals in the history of gaming acquisitions and would certainly change the industry's landscape. And they go in and they said, wants to acquire Valve. According to Dior, Microsoft has been preparing an offer at ridiculous $16 billion to purchase Valve, which is reportedly going to be all cash, no stock deal. Steam,
that sounds crazy.
And yeah, I think that in my opinion, 16 billion, that cannot be enough to buy Steam, like Valve.
That's what I'm
first
saying.
of all, like that is way too small. Like they probably make 16 bill. Geez, and like I don't know, maybe they probably don't make 16 bill a year. Do you think? No, that's too much. Any Anyone, Dan?
Maulding, any thoughts?
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think you would think that Microsoft would have learned their lesson about these acquisitions after Blizzard and Activision Blizzard. But what I even if, let's say, they even were contemplating doing, I do not see any way this makes it past the FCC. Like, there's no
Good
way
point.
there's no way that they would let this, because not only do you have to pass the United States FCC, you have to pass all the other countries. All the other countries would have to agree to this as well, just like they did for Activision Blizzard. So I don't see that happening. That just makes Microsoft too big. It would.
Good point.
Yeah.
But if we're just talking rumors, like, why would they do this? Why would they do this? Because they're floundering. PC gaming is not floundering. This is
Right.
PC gaming heaven. Is that Steam? So that's my take.
Which actually you touched on what a good segue for our next story is an article that you brought up about the PC gaming audience. If you want to tell about that.
So this is based off a report by market researchers at Newzoo. They revealed that compared to 2022 or 2022, 2023 was a recovery year for the game industry, with most profits across most platforms back up to normal after the pandemic-based rise and fall a few years ago. But the platform that recovered the most and saw the biggest increase in revenue was PC gaming. And I think that is so much because of Steam, which again leads to like why the FCC would never let Microsoft buy it, monopolies and all that stuff. But PC game sales, microtransactions, and other digital purchases grew by 8.4% in 2023 compared to 2022. That's pretty good alone, but compared to the other platforms, it's even more impressive. During that same time period, consoles only saw a 0.3% increase, and mobile gaming actually shrunk by 2%. So to give you the actual numbers on this, it is the profits are Newzoo estimates that total mobile gaming revenue landed around 89.9 billion. Consoles were at 52.4 billion, and PC gaming was only hovering around 39 billion. And that's the lowest of the three, but it's the only one that went up in that significant amount during 2022 or 2023. Sorry. And I want to point out, I did look up, because just out of curiosity, I've always told friends when I talk about gaming, it's like, yeah, gaming is the entertainment. Gaming makes the most money out of any industry in the like entertainment sphere. And people are like, no, I don't believe that. So I looked up what just the movie industry made in 2023. And as of January 2024, the US box office for 2023 was $9 billion. That's it. $9 billion. The PC gaming made $30 billion more than the movie industry. So there's so much money in games and in gaming that it blows any other industry out of the water.
I feel
what
like
do you think about those numbers?
Insane. And I feel like a lot of these gaming execs and just people in the gaming industry themselves, I feel like they want to keep those numbers under wraps, because I feel like they're making so much money and you don't even hear about it, but they're just going to the bank on these things. And you really don't hear that much. I mean, you hear that they're making money, but it's like, you don't hear it. Like if a movie does well, you hear about it. You hear about a game, like you kind of hear, not really. And it's insane. And just the fact that PC gaming is thriving so hard, no surprise. I think we've kind of touched on that and how much like between this console war, they're thriving. And I mean, I think that kind of goes back what we're saying about potential Xbox trying to buy Valve. I think if they did, and this is something that Phil Spencer also said, if you could somehow get everyone's Steam account to transfer over to an Xbox, then that could potentially bring a whole nother audience to the Xbox. in late next gen. So I'm not sure if that, I don't know if that would happen this gen. Probably not, maybe. But that could be a way for them to kind of fight back and help their like digital ecosystem that I think they're struggling with now.
Yeah, like a partnership makes total sense, but a purchase, whew,
Yeah.
I don't see that's happening. What do you think, Dan?
No, I agree. I think the profits are definitely huge and growing on the PC, obviously, because both Xbox and now PlayStation are putting so much content on there. So PC Master Race really is I mean, at first when the people started saying that, it was just annoying, but now it actually is looking true. I do think the biggest games take the lion's share of this, and there are probably some smaller games that, don't do as well. That do bankrupt studios and stuff like that. And so that kind of leads me to one story that I want to talk about real quickly, and that was the Embracer Group coming out. Now, I know they're not very popular because for those of you who are not familiar with the Embracer Group, I know you guys are, but for listeners, basically they were a big group that had some Saudi investment, and then they started gobbling up all of our favorite studios and made us very nervous about these games, because then when studios typically get acquired by these big companies, it's for financial reasons, and the art goes out the window, and all they want, our games start to squeeze our pockets, and they kind of lose fun, and the microtransactions start stepping in, the quality goes down, and we see this time and time again in the industry. Embracer Group was one of these. In fact, one of the largest companies to start acquiring all of these properties, and unfortunately earlier this year some of their funding fell through, and when that happened, all of a sudden their acquisition stopped, and that was the Saudi government part. Their acquisition suddenly stopped, and they started selling quickly, which put some businesses out of business. It put some studios as independents. They were able to buy their freedom. And so it kind of threw the video game industry into a little bit of a weird situation. Embracer Group hasn't been known to be lovers of video games. What they're really known for is being lovers of money, and without money, it kind of put their whole business in a weird state. They had a press conference, and actually just today, and then it said, Alone in the Dark reboot flopped, Embracer says, after laying off staff. So the Alone in the Dark reboot, do you guys remember this one? It just came out. I didn't even realize it, but it came out a couple months ago, and it had Jodie Comer from Killing Eve and Free Guy, and then David Harbour from Stranger Things. Did you guys?
I think I heard about it, but
yeah, I only saw about it through this article. That's the
Me
only.
too, so I was like,
yeah.
All right, so no wonder it tanked, because we play video games all the time, and I didn't even know about this sort of thing. And I'd heard it wasn't that great or whatever. So in the financial report for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024, Embracer said Alone in the Dark and Outcast: A New Beginning both endured, quote, a softer than expected performance and, quote, performed below management expectations. And that's corporate speak for failed to sell the required number of units to make money. So there are some, of course, studio layoffs, and a lot of concern for some of their other studios because of this. But I didn't even know what Outcast was. For this, after reading this article, I had to go and look it up. It's a full $70 price game that was a spinoff of a hit 1999 game. But are you guys familiar with that title?
Outcast.
Yeah. So that just kind of, the only reason I bring this up is because Embracer Group, watching it implode has been interesting. They're now breaking up into 3 different companies, although the main guy is going to oversee all of them. They've also sold off some of their companies. That's been interesting. The video games that they've been putting out. Now, I can't bag on Dead Island 2, because that one.
God, if they're responsible for that game, then definitely get them out of here.
They are. They said it was like their one good part of their financial report, that game had over 3 million players. It had also been on Game Pass, and it was a bright spot in terms of doing above performance. And I'm like, thank you so much, because I adored that game, so there should be more of them. But this kind of goes back to the larger conversation of what I was trying to say to you guys, is that I think that, it is interesting watching the PC industry and seeing what happens there. I do think the bigger games take the lion's share of the headlines as well as the sales, and I think these smaller games that we haven't even heard of, occasionally they break out. Occasionally there's a Dave the Diver or whatever that the POW world. And there was one sim where you're a city building one recently that everyone was talking about.
Skylines? No?
No, it was a morning.
Factorio?
No, it was
No.
not a big deal. Anyway, I just think that the smaller studios tend to struggle, while the bigger studios are the ones that are going to be okay because they get so much press and stuff like that. And I think that has a huge influence on the gaming industry in terms of what makes money and what doesn't.
Totally. Jeez, I'm just looking at this Alone in the Dark game, and I am wondering if it flopped so hard. I'm wondering if like David Harbour's crew like wanted to suppress it, because I have not seen anything about this game.
Oh, that's
I'm
so
like a little
funny
shook.
that you say that, though, is because if you look at the end of the article, and this was by IGN, they quote that David Harbour, he didn't.
He didn't
maybe it's not
approve or
this article,
something?
but basically, yeah, he wasn't a big fan. He was mad that he didn't get to shoot with Jodie. It was only face only. He wasn't full body. He thought it was silly. He knew that the series hadn't done much. He wasn't impressed with it. Like, he kind of bagged on his own game.
Wow.
Yeah, he bagged
That
on his own
doesn't
game, and I was
help.
like,
That does not help. I mean, he's such a big name, and Stranger Things is such a hit. It seems like a no-brainer to add him to a game like that. It looks like Stranger Things a little bit. It's just, oof, that's not good. I'm so surprisrised.
Not good at all.
I don't know. Are they gonna like? They're not gonna like shut their doors then. They're just gonna lay off a bunch of people. I'm assuming. Tragic.
I think they were shutting down that one studio.
Just the one. Yeah.
And and I feel like we constantly hear this from companies that they're not making enough money. They're constantly seeking profits. We hear the games industry and PCs doing better than ever, and I just don't understand what's happening here. And one company that made this exact complaint recently, which led to actually positive results for gamers, was Square Enix. And Matt, you had that story.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the thing open because I couldn't open it. So you got to read this one because
Okay.
Bloomberg had too many hits from me.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. This one comes from MSN. Actually, I found it. It says Final Fantasy maker Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy after profits tumble. Reporting its financial performance for the financial year ending March 31st. We're getting a lot of news out of these things. Sales in the digital entertainment segment, which includes video games, rose by 2.6%, but profit fell by 15.8%, despite the sale of Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Foam Stars, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, specifically on HD games, the subcategory Square, yada yada. The long story short is because they didn't make as much money, they were now considering going multi-platform with a franchise that's only belonged to Sony. What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, that's wild. But Maulding,
So I've been upset with Square Enix for a long time because I am a typical Xbox. That's where I usually play my stuff, and the only way I could play a lot of these games was on PlayStation. So that's fine. I pretty much have a PlayStation 5 to play Square Enix games because they were so restricted, and so So to have them say that, hey, one of the answers to this question is to allow other platforms to have them, I always say on this podcast, it only is great for gamers. It's great for gamers to be able to play a game on whatever system you want to play it. Exclusivity is terrible for gamers. So I was like, yes, a company is seeing the light. And if a big company sees this as the solution to extend it to other, much like Microsoft is seeing that is the solution to give their exclusives to other consoles, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the industry. I think it's a good thing for Square Enix. And I look forward to possibly playing Final Fantasy Rebirth on my Xbox at some point. So,
do you think they're going to do a retroactive release?
Oh, I think for sure they will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Then, I mean, something that I have been just hearing about, and I know like some sort of Sony executive just came out and said, hey, we're going to focus on narrative and gameplay and graphics are going to take a back seat. Maulding, I think you even commented on that one.
I used our Twitter to be like, these are the things you need. Like, graphics are great, but it's story and gameplay that is what sells the game.
This is sort of... I think that sort of goes hand in hand here. I think there's been such a focus for graphics. I think that was just sort of how this generation has just been like, how can we push graphics? Clearly didn't work because Sony's in shambles right now. It's just, I think, me personally, I think
I don't think they're pushing graphics hard enough because they're making, for the old 10-year-old systems, they're still making games for PS4, and Xbox One.
That is true. But I think you got a rebirth over here that just looks super freaking looks perfect, and you have a Switch that isn't going to be able to run that, and you could just build a little pixelated Final Fantasy VII Crow Country, and that will sell 1 million gazillion copies, similar to I think Animal Well, which is selling also a bajillion gazillion copies, which is just a Metroidvania. I think these AAA companies are going to see this, they're going to try to emulate it, and we're going to get games that are a little more simplified across all platforms and just more narrative driven in the future.
I have to say a great example of this is Pal World. Pal World does not look good. It is not it doesn't look good, but it is fun to play, and that is what makes the difference for a lot of things.
Truth.
Dan, sorry, go for it.
No. I'm just looking at the clock. We need to move on to listener emails. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we jump on to the listener emails?
No.
Okay, great. Lord, I think you had the first one.
Oh yeah. So this comes from Audrey from Thousand Oaks, California.
Hey. Friend of the
and she wanted to know what games left us with trauma. Now, this can be coming from horror games, action games, etc. We want to hear your best traumatic experience from video games. And Maulding, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I had a hard time with this one because my initial thought was Final Fantasy when Polom and Param turned themselves to stone to save you. As a little kid, that was pretty traumatic. But then at the very end of the game, they make themselves whole again, and it's fine. So then I thought, the game, sorry, for a now 60-year-old game, is that how old it is? But for me, it's that opening sequence of The Last of Us is just harrowing. It is. I had never played anything like it before, so much so that our friend Natasha, the next day, I had her come over. She doesn't care a thing about video games, but she loves zombies, and so I was like, Natasha, you have to watch this. And it's I don't know, was it 20 minutes, 25 minutes? It's somewhere around there. And it's just harrowing. It is so well done and so beautiful and so emotional. And the end part of it is like a gut punch because they had you play, spoiler alert again, it doesn't matter because people have already seen it. But you play as this girl. You're seeing this whole thing play out as this girl, and at the end she dies, and you feel like you've died a little bit. It's how they did it. It was wonderful, and it really, really affected me. Trauma. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say trauma, but it was great. I really, really appreciate it and thought it was well done.
I was jealous that you picked that one for sure. But my pick was, have you guys seen, did you play that small independent game Inside?
Yes, you're like a shadow, right? And there's spiders. And
no, you're like a little guy. It's it is like Limbo. That's the one you're thinking of, probably. So Limbo was the first one, and then the spiritual successor was Inside. And neither one of you played it?
Didn't play it.
Well, it came out in 2016, so I'm going to spoil the ending. Anyway, you're this kid. You kind of go through this whole thing for hours. You're going through puzzles and all this sort of stuff. At the very end, you're in the science lab, and you go and you get into this injected in this tube, and there's this thing. It's a biomass. It's probably like a ton, and then all of a sudden, you get sucked into it, and you become part of this biomass. It's almost very reminiscent, and what they're probably going for is like an egg, and like fallopian tubes are on it, and then you are the sperm, and you go into it, and you become like this thing with like hundreds of legs and arms, and you break out and you start killing people, and you're smashing like windows, and you're killing things. You're trying to get out. You're angry. You've been like cooped up, and all these people have been hunting you, and there's a few more puzzles that are stupid or whatever, but you get to kill people really good, and then you jump out a window and you fall a long distance, and you land on a beach, and there's probably like 10-ton just blob of flesh, and you're just breathing on the beach, and the camera pulls out and it ends, and it is so weird. It's awesome.
That sounds crazy.
It blew my mind. It gave me trauma for sure. It blew my mind.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know what can top that one. That was just wild.
Sure.
Well, speaking of something that blew my mind, the opening to Final Fantasy. Oh my god, Final Fantasy 7. Keep talking about that one today. Resident Evil 7. Now, that gave me some of the worst anxiety I have ever felt. Probably the first hour and a half when you're creeping through the house,
good.
looking for your girlfriend or wife. Was it girlfriend? Or no, wife. Oh my gosh. And you're getting your hands lopped off, and you're just like, you have this Texas Chainsaw Massacre family eating people at the dinner table while you're just sitting there, and like there's basically an indestructible guy chasing you around. And that whole sequence at the beginning was so well crafted, I thought. And that was just like a return to form for that series. It made me like, I realized that game was going to be too scary. When I played that one, I was like, that was too much, too intense. But what a great way to pick up some trauma along the way.
Which one was this?
Sure.
Resident Evil, which one?
7.
It
was when they went to first person. Whew, so scary. Dan, do you agree? I think
that definitely. I played the demo, and that scared the bejesus out of me, and it wasn't even as scary as that. That was great.
Yeah,
nice. Well, I'll have to check those out.
Definitely.
Sure. Let us know. Actually, let us know in the comments, like if you have a harrowing or have a trauma-inducing game, you should sound off in the comments and let us know, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Great call. Okay, moving on to our second listener email. This week we got an email from Howard from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who writes into goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com, just like you can. He says, "Hey guys, love the pod. I just got Game Pass, and I can't wait to dive in. I wanted to ask if you had any recommendations for games I could play over the long holiday weekend." So I thought this was a pretty good question for us to debate on the show. Basically, so team, since this weekend is a 3-day weekend and it's the unofficial start to summer, what are your recommendations for 2 Game Pass games that are perfect for this weekend and put you in a summer mood? Let's start with you, Lord.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I got to kick it off with Yakuza Like a Dragon. Now, it's a lighthearted RPG, very Japanese, with super heartfelt moments about friendship. All the battles are super unique. It has a lot of like weird shrimp moments and crustacean moments in it. Just crazy stuff that you just like totally get cooked up, and you run around these Japanese streets. It's really awesome. Lots to explore. I really can't, I love that game. And so if you have Game Pass, I think it's a great time to jump on in.
Nice. This is what it has, like a very Japanese sense of humor to it, right? It's like a very quirky kind of humor, right?
It is. It's super, very Japanese. It's basically like the Yakuza series, but everything in it is RPG now. So I actually think it's more fun to do the RPG elements than the the typical Yakuza-esque, like just like street brawling that you normally do. So I thought it was a perfect spin. It was awesome. I think it actually got a lot of accolades. But it's awesome. It's great to see that's on Game Pass. I'm probably even going to pick it up myself this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Right on. Maulding, what's your pick?
So my first one is Stardew Valley. So Stardew Valley was a game that I bought for my Switch, played like twice, and was like, "Oh, this game! What a waste of money this game was!" And I did not like it. It did not gel with me. And then, like 2 or 3 years ago, I picked it up again. Okay, and I started playing it on Game Pass on Xbox, and something just clicked, and I fell in love with it and played it obsessively for like probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Went through all the seasons, did all the planting, did all the harvesting, did all the selling, did all the hitting on my townies, trying to get them to marry me, fishing clicked with me, everything. I thought it was beautiful. It's easy to pick up, it's easy to understand, but hard to master. I can't talk about how much I love that game enough. And great music, great characters. Really, really enjoyed it.
And it's co-op, which is good with friends, so it's co-op.
And it's co-op again. Never got invited to any of your games, but it was still it's still very fun to play by myself. Yes, definitely pick it up. Can't recommend it enough.
Good call,
Right on.
Maulding.
Thank you.
My first
Dan,
pick
what
for the
about you?
long weekend is for someone new to Game Pass who hasn't played some of the smaller titles. So one of them is Super Lucky's Tale. This is kind of like a Mario. I love a good platformer. They're a really fun throwback. This one's super colorful. It's got just the perfect level of difficulty for you to beat everything and to find all the coins and that sort of stuff that platformers bring. And it's got all of it. It's got boss battles that are really creative. I don't feel like I heard anyone talk about this. I think it went completely under the radar. In fact, I'm such a Super Lucky's fan. I bought the original one for the Oculus Rift and I beat it in VR. Then they made this one, the Super Lucky's Tale, which is the sequel, and they put it on Game Pass. I bought it before I even got on Game Pass and beat the hell of it. I even bought the DLC. I played everything you can in this. It's a great platform and I highly recommend it. That's my pick.
I remember when you were playing it on VR. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, Dan's playing VR?
Yep.
It must be good. Must be good.
What's your next pick, Lord?
My next pick, I gotta say, it's gotta be Prey. Prey. And this one is for all the BioShock fans out there. I seriously cannot recommend this game enough. This one I feel like goes a little bit more under the radar for your kind of RPG type game. Also for Half-Life fans out there too. It's very like
And Dishonored. It feels
and Dishonored.
Yep.
It has like a look
Yeah.
of Dishonored, definitely. It has like a cool vibe, very mysterious, almost like you're down in it's Atlas, by BioShock, I think. Yeah, you're kind of like exploring this building and trying to figure out what's going on here. And the gun that it initially gives you is this funny glue gun that you're able to do all these different cool tricks with. You can use it to make like steps to get up to different levels of things. It's a great game. It's an awesome puzzler. I feel like it'd be actually, well, it'd be awesome if we got like a Prey 2, but I highly doubt it.
Well, the studio shut down.
Yeah, that's what I thought was. I was like, okay, I think that's going to be a studio closure issue.
Yeah, that was.
But awesome game. I think the first one definitely needs to be played by any hardcore, first person shooter fan out there. It's awesome.
I totally agree with it. It's a fantastic game. Love it. Also,
and it will give you trauma.
And
it will give you trauma.
And a great
For sure.
opening sequence too that I did not see coming with how it all worked out in the beginning there. I really loved it too.
Definitely. The opening sequence is really cool. Yeah.
What's your next pick, Maulding?
My next one is, now this one is only for if you are a fan of any sort of park simulator or like Sim City or what's that the one where Tropico. If you're a fan of those type of games, then Jurassic World Evolution 2 is so much fun. It is so much fun to build a park for dinosaurs. You're laying out the fences. You have to send people out to get specific dinosaur eggs, and then you breed them in a special pen, and then you release them. And there's an animation for when you release them. Each type of dinosaur. There's like 40 different types of dinosaurs. You can make an aviary. You can make a pen for the Mosasaurus and for aquatic dinosaurs. And then the whole goal is to make it so that you are a successful Jurassic Park manager. And once in a while, a storm will come in, and that storm destroys a fence, and a raptor gets out, or a T-Rex gets out, and they attack your park goers. And you have to then send out people to trank them. And it's kind of stressful when that kind of stuff happens, but it is so much fun. And actually just talking about it makes me want to play it right now. But it is a really good game that if you like that type of sim game, I can't recommend it enough. Same.
How is the controls on the controller? Just because I know this can be a little tricky.
It's all those sim games have a learning curve to working the controller out. But once you get used to it, like zooming in, zooming out, selecting, you get used to it. Yeah, I love it. I think it's so much fun. Yeah,
you're making me want to try it out too.
Yeah. That's great.
So my final pick for the summer is kind of similar, having to do with animals. It's Maneater. So I don't know if either one of you played this one. It's kind of mindless, but really fun. You are a shark, and you are swimming through the water, and all you have to do is eat and kill people and other animals and stuff. And you keep leveling up, and you get like electric fins, and you get toxic bite, and you get all of these powers. And you can go up under these boats and just blow them away. And then you chomp people and stuff. And then they have boss battles where there's like a whale that comes after you. Or there's this one person, this hunter that wants to come after you. And so they just take it in crazy directions. And meanwhile, you're jumping out of the water and just landing on boats and taking out. You can jump on the land. You can go on the beach and chomp people. It's just chaos. It's like being Jaws, but even more fun. So I highly recommend it. Nothing says summer more than Shark Attacks to me, and it's a fun game, so I highly recommend it.
Great. It sounds like a perfect Dan game as well.
Yeah, definitely. And sound off in the comments or respond to us on Twitter if you have any recommendations for great summer games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us on our socials. Twitter is Good Playing With You, goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com to email anything to us. Find us on YouTube at Good Playing With You, and we have a robust TikTok now at GPWY2 is our TikTok handle, and we are very soon going to have a website, which we're going to have our website up. Super excited about it. So hit us up.
Sounds awesome. Yep, that sounds awesome. I look forward to hearing the website details, and thank you for all the social information, Matt. But on that note, we need to start wrapping things up. Please make sure you're subscribed to all the places that Matt just listed. And on behalf of the Good Playing crew, Matt Lord, Matt Maulding, and myself, Dan Whitehill, have a great weekend. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.